Hello and welcome back to Learning to Program using the Godot game programming engine. Alright, in this video I'm going to do something a little bit off track. I've kind of been skirting around this topic, but I think it's important, and it's definitely an important part of software development, so I think it's worth talking about and at least getting an introduction to. So what we're going to talk about today is source control. So if you've been watching my videos, you've noticed to kind of keep track of where I was at, every time I made a new video, I would copy my folder and then add this extension, and that has lots of problems. One, it's inefficient space-wise, but also Godot doesn't work very well with that. I have to import it each time and all kinds of stuff like that. So today we're going to learn about source control, which is kind of like a time machine for source code. So it allows me to write my code and then commit it, or make a freeze time, let's say, and then I can make more changes after that, and at any time I can go back to any of those previous states that I saved it at. So let's take a look at how that works. So there's lots of source control programs out there. There's TFS for Microsoft, there's SVN, Mercurial. There's lots of them out there, and each of them have their advantages and disadvantages and different ways of using them. But the most popular and common one that I know of right now is called Git, which was made by Linus Torvald, and he's also the person who made Linux, so he's a really sharp guy. And Git is extremely powerful, but with being powerful, it also is a little bit confusing, and you can accidentally make some pretty easy mistakes that can lose work for you. So we don't want that. So we're going to take a brief look at some commands, and don't let the command line here scare you. To get this up, what I did is I searched for command prompt right here, and then you do CD, which stands for change directory, and then I got the directory for my project by just copying it there with Control C, and then here I right click to paste it in, hit enter, and now I'm in that folder just like I am up here. Alright, so now that I'm in my folder, and you do have to install Git, and there's I don't even know where to install it from. Mine came from Visual Studio, I'm sure. Probably get it right here. Git downloads. Yeah, this is where you would get it to download it and install it on your Windows machine. So once it's installed, you can use the git command just like that, and you see it spits out all kinds of stuff about how to use it. Also, for all these commands, so let's do like git init, you can do git help init, and it'll bring up a help file on how to use that command. So that could be helpful. But these are the commands we're going to look at. So first, git init. This one creates a repository. So currently I don't have a repository here, so I'm going to do git init, and it's going to create one. It says initialize an empty one, and it did this .git folder. So if you have this hidden items turned on under view, you can see this file, and you notice it's a little bit shaded lighter, and that means it's hidden. And this is the folder that Git created, and this is where it stores all its stuff. We don't want to mess around in here, but I just wanted you to be aware that that's what that folder does, and don't delete it because you'll lose all of your history if you delete that folder. Alright, so we've got that Git folder. So now I need to add stuff to it. So these are my status, and we'll look at those in a minute. Maybe I should move those down here. But this is how we add things into our repository. So Git has something called has the working folder, which is this folder right here, all these files. It has a staging folder, or staging area, which you can't see, but this command right here moves these files into that staging area. And then commit is the command that does the moment in time, the freeze in time, that takes those things that are in that staged area and freezes them. So let's add these to my staged area with git add period, which means add them all. You can also add a specific file, so I could add like bush.gd. That would add just my bush file. And if I do git status, you'll see new file is bush, and then here's all the ones that are untracked files that are not being tracked. So I'm going to do git add period. That'll add all my files. There is a way you can configure your repository to ignore specific files. So if you had a file in here that you did not want to go into your repository to be tracked, you can do that. But in our case, we want to track everything. So now if I do git status again, you'll see I have a bunch of new files. These are all the files that I'm going to commit. And right now these are in my staged folder. So now I'm going to go git commit -m stands for message, and then I'm going to give it a message. So I'm going to say initial load, right? And there it goes. So now if I do git status, I should get nothing to commit, clean working tree. All right. So that means everything's committed and good to go. So now I can use this other command called Git Log. All right, and this shows all of the commits in time. So it tells you who did it, and here's the time that it happened, and here's the commit message, and then there's this commit, and it's got this giant number here that's really long, and this is a unique identifier for this commit. So if two people on two different machines make a commit, this number or letter or character will always be different. Alright, so I can use this to identify this commit even across machines. So let's see, so I've got my commit. So yeah, let's look at how we move around in time. So right now I just have my initial commit, so let's go in here and make a change. So I'm going to go and add a bush up here in the sky, right? And we'll call him sky bush. Alright, so we'll save that. So now I've got this change saved in Godot. So if I go git status again, even though it was clean just a second ago right here, now it's showing I've got a modified file, that level 1, and that's because that's the file in Godot that I changed. So I need to restage that. See right here it says no changes added to commit, so I need to do add period again. There it is. Now if I do git status, it'll say this one's modified and ready to be committed. And I'm going to say added sky bush. Alright. So now I've got that added sky bush. So if I do git status, it should be clear. If I do git log, I should see 2 now. I've got my initial load down here, and then I've got my added sky bush up here. So now I'm able to move around in time and move back to my initial load if I need to. So if I come here and I load up levels, level 1, there I've got my bushes in my sky. And one thing I noticed is in Godot you have to close and reopen the folder when you do, or file when you do this. So I'm going to move back to my initial load, and I do that by copying this commit number, because I don't want to have to type all that out, and I use this other command called Git Checkout. So I go Git Checkout and then paste in that number right there, and it says the head is now at this, and it's the initial load. So we'll see about this head in a minute when we use the GUI. It will have a better visual representation of that. But to see this change, I need to go back here and close and reopen it, and there it's gone. We're back to the way we were when we started. So this would be good if you were working along and you made a mistake and you're like, oh man, I didn't mean to do that. You could roll back to that previous version and do that. And there's another command we'll look at, or I'll show you right here. It's called I think it's revert. Git. Yeah, it's actually reset. So git reset hard, and then your little commit number right here. This one will roll you back, but it gets rid of any changes. So if I did that now, I would lose my skybush commit. it would just be gone. But I can still get back to it right now by doing Git Checkout and then master, which is the branch that I'm currently on. And you can see that yeah, right here, and when I do git status, it says I'm on branch master. So by saying git checkout master, it just says get me the very latest of that. So now it moved me back to the top. So if I close this and reopen it, you see I'm back at the top. I've got my bush back. All right, so let's look at this in a GUI, and that'll help give us a better idea of what's going on. So I just downloaded this one. It's called Git Kraken. I'm not real familiar with it, but what I did is I said git GUI best Windows, something like that, and there were some lists here, current recommended, I believe, on Reddit. Bunch of people talking about it. Anyways, this is where I found it. One of the top commenters said, yeah, Git Kraken right there. And so that's what I did. I went and got Git Kraken. So far it seems pretty good. It's got a nice easy to use interface. But like I said, I'm not real familiar with it, so bear with me while we check this out. So I'm going to say open a repository because I've already got one. Open a repository, and I'm going to go to c:/working/Godot/class adventure world. So here it is, right? I'm going to select folder. All right, loaded it up, and here you can see a few things. One, I've got master, and there's also this thing called remote and local. We'll talk about that in a second. But here's my branch master, and then here's kind of a visual indication of what that looks like. And so master points over here at this added sky bush, which is my current change set or commit, and here's my initial load, which was the first one we did. And over here on the right you can actually see not only the message, who did it, so there's my image pulled from Gravatar, and down here you can actually break down and see the files. And if I click that, I can see right here, I can see there's that node that I added, Skybush, which is my this thing right here, and there's the name of it. So you see Godot named that node Skybush right there in the text file. Alright, so if I close this and I go back to my initial load, you can actually see over here, you can see all the files. So specifically I can see my source code that I wrote, and I can also see, you can see some of the images, I believe, in this program. So yeah, this is a really neat program. It can actually visualize some of these pictures and stuff. When I'm clicking here, I'm not actually going back in time. I'm just looking through the history here in this program. But if I click here and then I go back to Godot and I closed and reopened, don't save this. Closed and reopened, I'm still on that latest version, right? I haven't actually moved back in time. What I can do is, I don't know if they have a command here to go back. You can revert, which is, like I said, it would eliminate this latest version, but I don't think you can actually go back there. You can create a branch here, and we may look at that. I believe that would be the way you would do what I'm talking about here. It's probably what you would want to do anyways if you wanted to get rid of this, but at the same time save it for some reason. Then what you would want to do is create a branch here, and we'll look at that maybe in a more advanced video later. But for right now, you could either hard reset, which, like I said, so that's this command right here, is a GUI way to get to it. So reset hard, and what that would do is it would get rid of this added sky bush. We'll look at that in a second. I'll actually run it for you so you can see it. But what we can do here is, if you just want to go back and look at it in Godot at a specific point in time, you can do Git Checkout and then use the number for it. So this tool actually gives me a cool little thing up here, I can click on it there and copy it to my clipboard, and then I can paste it right in. So now you see something happened here. I've got this head, which in Git stands for where you're actually at, and it moved it back here to this initial load. And so you can visually see that master actually starts up here, but my head is pointed back here at this initial load. And if I go back into Godot, and reopen, you see I'm back to my initial state. I don't have that. So I'm actually at that version here in Godot. And then I can, when I'm done, I can go right click and say Checkout Master. And that will move me right back up to the top. And if I go back into Godot, close and reopen, my bush is back. So that's how I move around in time using Git Kraken. Now let's make another change and see how my normal workflow would work if I was in Git Kraken. So what I want to do is let's fix this bush. So this bush is kind of in a silly space, right? He's off in the sky. So let's move him down here on the ground, and we'll even rename him to ground bush. All right. So I'm going to save that. And now if I go back to Git Kraken, you notice I've got this work in progress right here, comment. It's kind of like, so I'm actually here on this commit, but then I've got this other stuff up here, and it's got this like dotted. What's going on? Well, this is my local directory, my working directory, and it's showing one file changed. I think that's what that indicates right there. And this indicates I've got stuff that's outstanding. So what I can do is click on that, and then over here it tells me what files changed. So this level 1 is changed, and it's currently unstaged, right? So that was, remember, I had to use the add command back here in order to stage it. So if I use the stage all, then that moves it down in here into the staged files. So that's the equivalent of using the add.period command, right? And then down here I need a message. So I'm going to say moved sky bush to ground. Alright, and then I'm going to commit. Boom. Now I've got 3 commits, and I've got this moved sky bush to ground. So if I go back into Godot, close and reopen, nothing should have changed. He's still on the ground. Let's go back to where I had it in the sky. So and we'll make a different change. So let me try this create branch here. So I'm going to right click, create branch, and let's call it sky branch. Alright, so here, yeah, this is what I wanted. So this moved me back there. So if I go back to Godot, close and reopen, I'm back at my sky branch, right? So this is the sky version. And if I make a change here, let's move it to middle sky, or right sky. There we go. Let's move it over there. So this is a very different change than when we moved to the ground. And yeah, so this is getting interesting. So I'm going to go up here to my work in progress. I'm going to say, I'm going to stage those changes, and I'm going to say moved bush to the right side. I'm going to commit that. So now we've got something really interesting going on. We've got a master branch, and then we've got a sky branch, right? And on my master branch, I moved the bush to the sky, but then on my sky branch, I've got it over here on the right hand side. So this is a way of preserving that change without eliminating this change that I made. So I was able to go back here and then make a new change without eliminating this guy. So let's try going back to this guy. So I can right click and say Checkout Master. So that moved me back here, but this guy is still hanging out. So let's try reset master hard to here and see what happens. nothing happens. And the reason for that is because this is on a separate branch. So I think you can actually delete Sky branch if you wanted to, and it says this is a destructive operation. Are you sure? So yes. So there I actually deleted that new branch. So that would be a good way if you wanted to test something out. You could test it out on a separate branch, and then you can delete it or keep it. Matter of fact, it would probably be good for us to see how to merge that in. But we'll do that in an advanced video. Mainly what I wanted to show you here is how to make changes, save them, and then be able to roll back if you need to. So let's do that here. So let's say I really wanted to keep that as the Sky branch, and I did not want to keep it on the ground. So let's to verify where we're at now. So I've got my bush on my ground, and I've got the 3 commits. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to roll back to where this was up in the sky over here. So that's this one. So I could use that checkout and go to this hash right there like that. But what I'd like to do is to reset master hard to here. So what happened is it removed that top one and moved my master back to here. So if I go back into Godot, close and reopen, you'll notice I'm back to the state that I wanted to be at. The difference is I totally eliminated that latest commit. So that's kind of a destructive, or it is a destructive operation. But in the case where if you have a remote repository where you're sending this off to the internet somewhere, and you do this on your local, you still can pull from that remote and get those back. But if you're working local like I'm going to be doing, that's probably not what you want to do unless you really goofed up and you just want to go back to the last commit. Alright, so I think this is a good stopping point. We covered a lot of stuff. We covered the command line version of how to do this. We also looked at Git Kraken, a user interface. I'm not endorsing this interface, but from what little I've used it, other than not having the ability to check out, I don't know why you can't check out a previous version. There's a cherry pick commit, which is not the same. There is the create branch, which I think that's why they don't have the checkout here. It's because that's really what you would want to do, is if you wanted to move back here and make a change, you'd really want to create a branch there. So that's what I'm guessing why they don't have that capability here in the interface. But other than that, as far as I can tell, I really like this. You do have to attach it to an account. That's why you see my picture there, is it's actually attached to my GitHub account. And GitHub is a free website for sharing and storing. You've probably seen this site if you've done much software development. A lot of people use this to store their projects, and they allow you to store free projects up there, and it's pretty nice. So we looked at that, and yeah, this interface is pretty good and I like it, so I'll probably continue to use it and get better with it, and hopefully maybe next time I'll have, when we do an advanced video, if we get there, when we look at branching and merging and remote repositories, I'll be a little bit more capable. Alright, so I think that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll continue to work on this Adventure World project and try and turn it into a full game. Alright, thanks for watching.